Hi everyone, welcome to a very special conversation. I'm your host Natasha Singh, and as we have launched a one on one consultation category on our platform, I thought why not sit with our co creator Natasha Kumar and dive deeper to understand why did she think of it, where did the idea come from, and why is it so important? So let's head into the conversation straight away. Hi, Natasha, welcome, and butterflies.
Yeah, butterflies. I think the past 1 month has been like one big roller coaster ride as we've all been, at it, launching a one on one consultation category. And I think we're super soaked and super happy to be finally doing it. So, yeah. So, tired, but it's good.
Yeah, it's like the batteries are dead, but we still so want to, do more and more about it, right? Let's establish some context for people, right? Let's tell them why NeoYug, what exactly is it about NeoYug, and then let's gradually progress, right? So, personal transformation, when we talk about it, people typically relate it with skill set. That, okay, I don't know how to earn a lot of money, so maybe, I should know how to do money management. Or if I suck at leadership qualities, maybe I should know how to be a better leader. But one thing that I've learned ever since I've joined New York is that how deeply, personal transformation is just not skill set, but in fact, it's like all of it: your mindset, your heart set, your energy, how spirituality and subconscious play such a huge role in it, right? I would want you to kind of expand on that.
Yeah, now look, I think even accepting that I need help or I need to work on something, sometimes it takes 1 years to kind of also get to that awareness level of stage, right? But I think what we've been observing in our surroundings and the society, that awareness is kind of coming into, the speed of awareness is kind of picking up. And it's very weird because we try to bring logic into that aspect, but we've seen awakenings happening all around us. And people have coming to acceptance of the flaws, perhaps the wound areas or the triggers. And I feel after the awareness, what's next? Next is to, of course, start working on it, right? Awareness to acceptance, acceptance to change, and change to empowerment. I think that's the flow would happen. And that's where NeoYug stands, and that's where NeoYug comes into the play. That once the awareness starts happening, that could happen through a conversation, that could happen through trigger. Many of us, we get triggered into awakenings, right? And after that, the kind of hand holding one needs, the kind of guidance one needs, and that where NeoYug comes into the play.
So when it comes to triggers, or when it comes to having that enlightenment, I think this is my perspective, because I think I have had many aha moments when I have consumed a lot of content, right? And I'm sure the same goes with you. I know you're such a content junkie, right? That
Aren't we all? Doom scrolling to death.
yeah, I think we would be the biggest, content consumers of Instagram also, I feel. But okay, not guilty. Yeah. When I watch content related to personal transformation, and then when I got to understand about my triggers, or okay, where this trauma is coming from, I think that clarity was enough for me to kind of, go ahead in life and move along. What fascinated me was that how, even a step further from there, you thought that, there should be a personalized healing and mentorship angle to it, right? And I feel that this stands true for most of the audience, that we watch something, we, kind of have an observation, we take away something from it. But what exactly was it that you thought that no, this is not enough and the story doesn't end here, and we need more personalized healing and mentorship? What was the gap that you saw?
I think, first of all, this is not a personal hinge that the one-on-one kind of took place. While building NeoYug for the past 1 year, I would say, I think we've been talking to so many people. We've met so many great mentors along the way. And as we are interacting with the community, right, I think the kind of feedback that we got And the kind of response that we started getting from our community led to kind of, I would say, birthing of the one-on-one part. But on the holistic societal structure, let's kind of go back to that understanding, right? One is that I come to a level of awareness that something needs to move. I need help with something. I need spiritual guidance. I need some psychological guidance. And that's where the whole typical consultations and all of that come into the play. We can get triggered by a piece of reel or a YouTube video because we live in the digital age, and that's like very massive all around. And I think it speaks to many of us, whether watching a podcast or a reel or somebody said something on the internet. But the real triggers are in our day-to-day lives. How are we dealing with the modern age challenges, right? We're looking all around, Natasha. I mean, think about it. The kind of challenges that we are faced in our family situations, the kind of challenges we are being faced in, this whole ecosystem of trying to be somewhere very urgently. Like, I have to be somewhere now. I think these are societal challenges that are also pushing us to a limit of breakdown. And if you see, the breakdowns are happening left, right, and center. People are being burnt out. People have started gaining anxiety, right? Depression is on the rise. And these are societal construct. Now, coming from that standpoint, these are not just, the triggers are not happening by just content. The content pieces are happening, making us realize that, this is how I also feel. But the triggers are already happening, and they've been happening for centuries. The thing is, when did we address it? Right now, because of the conversation, we are choosing to address these challenges, right? And that's where the whole thing came into the play, that I can observe a piece of content, a piece of understanding, and relate to my own inner challenges. But that's not enough. Conversation, hand-holding, it's extremely vital. Because sometimes the wounds are so deep that you're not enough to deal it by yourself. One needs professional help, right? One needs the proper guidance, and coming from people who have already walked that path. And these are not the people that have said, okay, I'm just going to sit here and just going to do psychological analysis of what you're going through without any understanding of what you are going through. It's a deep, profound work coming from people who have walked that path and saying, hey, I understand where you're coming from. I get you. My job as a space holder is to hold the safe space for you to find your trigger and how you're going to deal with it. And perhaps give you certain tools along the way and say, hey, this is how you work around it. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it alone. I'm not saying that at all. But having help, taking that help professionally, expedites the process, simplifies the process, and give you enough understanding to say, hey, okay, this is another perspective beyond my limited understanding, and this is where it's arising from. And to be really honest, this is the outcome of that proper evolution that we've seen in the society. And it's a feedback from our own community that said, hey, I want to be able to talk to the mentors. I want to spend one-on-one time with your mentors. And we had no capacity to do that, right? And that's where the feedback led us to say, hey, we are going to perhaps launch this one-on-one thing. Perhaps bring the right kind of people to our platform and say, hey, yes, you can help others, and people who are seeking help can come to us and go to all these mentors. So it is an outcome of the community echo and the society echo. So, yeah.
But that's so beautiful because I feel, how the mentorship was so crucial and it was so significant till we completed a school and our colleges, right? Now, ever since we left those institutions, I feel no one talks about personalized mentorship, especially when we know that the real life challenges are much more bigger, the stakes are much higher, but no one talks about it, right? So I definitely get the aspect that you want to bring across of a one-on-one mentorship. And when we were building this together, right, I really thoroughly enjoyed and I was so immersed in the process of also hand selecting and curating these group of mentors. And I think that came from a space where I knew that if I have to go to a mentor, and which I'm sure that all of those people kind of go through, right? Okay, credible है, इनके पास authentic knowledge है, ये कुछ ज़्यादा sell करने की तो कोशिश नहीं कर रहे मुझे, are they here just to make money, right? I think that whole process of just keeping a very handful of mentors and seeing that foundational thing in them, that was such eye-opening experience even for me, that I think that also established so many parameters for me that if tomorrow I have to go and seek for a mentor, these are the things that I want to look for, right? And that's something that I learned from you. So I want to know from your perspective that, what are these foundational traits and qualities that you really want the new age mentors to endorse?
That's an interesting one, Natasha, because I think one of my internal challenges or things that I had to work around while kind of working in this whole thing, I've seen what someone's word can do to someone's psyche, right? We live in a society, especially in India, we have a culture of the priest, the Jyotish, and all of that. And I have seen how a prediction or a fear-mongering tactics can cripple an entire family. That was something that I truly wanted to kind of, sit with and say, hey, if we are starting perhaps a service where people will be able to book one-on-one consultations and guidance with all these mentors, what are the key basic tactics that we need to keep in mind, right? I think one was very clear. I think we clearly want people that come from that resonance, right? Brings that resonance to the table. Because I think in the modern society, especially with people who are coming from a modern bent of mind, the younger generation, it becomes very hard to relate to our ancient wisdom, right? Because nobody's telling us that this is what's the meaning behind a ritual or a practice or a thought or a mantra. We're just being told, ye kar lo, right? We're not getting any resonance to that table. One was very clear that we get people who bring that modern understanding, that modern age understanding to the ancient wisdom and say, hey, this is what it means. That was very clear. Second, as I talked about, these people need to have that very strong ethic codes, that it comes from a certain space of deep, safe space holding, right? We needed to make sure that a lot of our mentors are coming from non-fear mongering space, right? Non-prediction space, and coming from a space that my job here as a space holder, as a mentor, is to hold that safe space for you where you can fully be your true, most vulnerable self, so we can work around it. So I think that was one of the very clear understanding that we've kept in mind while selecting mentors as well. And I think third, which is the most beautiful aspect, right? And it relates to the point number one that says this and that. A lot of our mentors, these are modern age guys, right? Somebody's a scientist, somebody's an entrepreneur, somebody's a speaker, somebody's a mother. And we wanted to make sure that people bring in different perspectives to the table. I, as a modern human, I need to resonate with what you are trying to tell me, right? And the problem that I felt in the entire space of one-on-one understanding, you go to a Jyotish or anybody in the market, they don't understand where you're coming from, right? They'll tell you, aapki rashi mein ye kharab hai, this and that, but they'll not understand your problem at the core of it. You need somebody who understands from that space. So for example, one of our mentors is a data scientist, right? He's an entrepreneur as well. He understands pattern recognition. He understands what an entrepreneur must feel or would be going through. So he can look at Vedic astrology chart and kind of guide from that perspective. That was very vital for us to kind of keep that in mind, that they're coming from various walks of life. They're coming from various perspectives, blending the ancient wisdom to the modern age challenges that we are going through. I think that would bring us closer to the teachings a lot more better. That would bring us closer to healing a lot more better. So these are the three key things that we had to keep in mind, Natasha. And I think you did a great job doing at it, right? You were at it. I think we were talking to all our mentors. We were handpicked their profiles, and these are some of the people that we've closely worked with. So yeah, I'm really happy the kind of mentors that we have on board. Yeah.
And I think now when you speak about it, right, I just feel that, yes, definitely these are mentors who have walked that path. And I feel all these, multifaceted personality, I think they're just extensions of channelizing that wound or trauma when they did it. I feel the whole this and that philosophy, it just blends so well. These are just extensions of the paths that they have already walked. So it was such a great sneak peek kind, even for me, into all these mentors that gives it so much of human value. I just feel they suddenly become so relatable. And typically, how when we look at other mentors, we glorify the whole, which we should, because they have that kind of expertise. But I feel when they're put here, suddenly it is also very easy to kind of fall into that cult line, right? Which we want to avoid. But when they come across as someone, hey, this person loves how to ride a bike, or this person is a poet, or this person is this, that humanness, I think that is someone that helps you break the ice. And for that matter, even I would be more open to talking to someone like that. Because I feel that, maybe we gel well, we vibe well, I'll be able to tell you better, and maybe you'll be able to give me solution better.
Carl Jung really said something really profound, and he said that know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when you touch a human soul, just be another human soul, right? And when I read these lines, it's like, this is something really profound, because being in this space, of course, there are so many modalities out there, right? And some really absurd ones. At times you're like, okay, what's happening here? You have to be non-judgmental about it and say, hey, let me explore what it is all about. Because whatever rocks somebody's boats, it's okay. That's the belief I come from, right? But it has to be done in a more understanding and logical way. And when I read these lines, it truly talks about that no matter how many PhDs or techniques, how much years of experience a mentor has, but it is truly about touching the soul, because that's what we are missing. Even in our schools, a lot of our teachers just taught us. They never really talked to us. They just taught us bookish stuff. And perhaps that's the reason we didn't have deeper understanding of the subjects. And I see that very similarly in this space happening as well, that sometimes we lose the connection that we're sitting across a human. We are sitting across somebody who's grown through lifetime after lifetime trying to figure this all thing out. And I can't be putting the techniques, the heaviness of the words, the heaviness and the weight of the techniques onto this person. I need to make this person understand the way the person is gonna be able to understand this. So I find these words by Carl Jung very, very profound. And I think the most beautiful space holders are the one that hold space for you from that perspective. That once they sit across, no matter how big of a Jyotish they are, no matter how big of a healer they are, once they sit with you, they are just another human. They're not on a pedestal, and they don't have to be. They're just there equally sitting with you, holding that safe space for you to heal.
But I think when you speak about space holding, right, and I want to kind of double click on this, because I feel a lot of people don't get this concept of space holding. I have personally seen that, people look at personal transformation as like an answer to their struggles. They feel that, okay, if मैं ये change कर लूँगा ना तो मुझे ये मिल जाएगा, right? कि अगर मुझे बहुत सारा पैसा कमाना है, I should learn how to maybe learn maybe stock trading, या मुझे अच्छा leadership करनी है तो maybe, I should learn how to communicate. I feel they don't get it that it's a process. They need to understand, okay, why are you not able to attract money? Right? Is it a wound? Is it trauma? Is it conditioning? right? I feel personal transformation, it's not a standalone stage. There's a lot of pre-work that happens. There are a lot of three other stages that kind of comes before this, which you have actually, you sat with us and taught us that how this unfolding and natural progression happens, right? Would you like to kind of elaborate on that? Because I loved it personally.
Yeah, I've been thinking on that, Natasha. I think, it's always back and forth. Trust me, sitting here, we don't have it all figured out. I think the truths that we all need to accept, that we're all trying to figure it all out. But we're coming closer to the truth bit by bit, awakening by awakening, right? Realization after realization. But that's the way I choose to look at it. I think usually after the awareness aspect of it, I think there are 4 stages that would come. And these are the 4 key pillars that we are building this whole one-on-one, platform on. One is the healing aspect, I think. I personally feel everyone deserves healing. Everybody has the right to heal. The society, we tend to really judge people. But at the core, even a criminal needs healing. A lot of the patterns are coming from some unhealed wounding, either as a child or some place or the other, right? I think healing is one big pillar, wherein everybody needs to come to a safe space to sit with a safe person and say, hey, this is what I want to work with. Now, this is a tough work, but I think it's so needed. It's so needed. So healing is one. Then comes the clarity bit, right? A lot of us are seeking clarity in the world today, because I don't think healing is one-off phenomena. We are coming back to healing in some way or the other, not from a state of, I need healing all the time, because it's easy to fall into the healing trap as well, right? We can talk about that later, but saying that, okay, I'm done for that. I'm done healing for now. I've worked with this issue. Now I need certain clarity. So sometimes clarity can come from a state of, hey, what is my true purpose in life? What are the key strengths that are in my Vedic chart that I need to work with, right? Clarity can be what my human design looks like so I can serve in the world better, right? What are the key things that I need to be a part of? What kind of projects, what kind of people? More clarity around that. A lot of our modalities, a lot of our ancient modalities can help us find that clarity, right? So clarity is the second strongest pillar. Now, the third strongest pillar is transformation. When you truly say, okay, I worked with this issue, now I'm ready to fully transform from one state in my life, right? Transformation can be personal, it can be physical as well, that I'm going to change the way I feel. Not very much so the way I look. Yes, that can be an aspect of it as well. So, for example, a lot of our mentors are helping people to transform their physical and their mental self holistically. Because usually what happens, we go to a gym and we have a trainer there that's going to say, okay, you're going to do this, and this is what you're going to kind of either lose weight or either tone up better. But what all these trainers are missing is the mental part of it, right? And in my own personal journey of transformation, I realize it's not just physical. It is very much mental as well. And you need somebody who brings a holistic perspective to the table, which is mental, spiritual, and physical compiled into one, so you can have a better transformation. We have transformation coaches onto our platform, and that's the third most strongest pillar. Now, the fourth one is a very interesting one, Natasha, which is for people who want to dive deeper into the rabbit hole. Right? You and I both know that somebody who gets into the spirituality space, it is so juicy that you just want to know more. The whole Jnana Yoga aspect of it, that you want to explore, you want to know, you want to understand it from the core aspect of it, not the shallow aspect, right? But I really want to dive deeper into this whole teaching. And that's where the spiritual evolution part comes into the play. And a lot of it came from my own personal journey. I realized that there is a lot of gatekeeping that happens around deep spiritual understanding. And now I realize that it's rightfully so, because a lot of people tend to mold those teachings in a different way and kind of put it out in the world in a very different light. But I also feel that it also comes with a certain aspect of ego. right? That not everybody is okay to grasp these teachings, right? But I feel if the access is provided through the right mentors, through larger platforms like NeoYug, I think it'll be far more better than learning something about something from a podcast. Now it's contradictory because we do that also at, we have a podcast. But a one-on-one teaching, understanding something deeply about, for example, Tantra one-on-one is very different than learning it from a podcast, right? Because a lot of these teachings are very personalized, The way I will look at Tantra is going to be very different from how you look at Tantra or how I look at shamanism, the way you look at shamanism, right? It's going to be a very individual process. And that one-on-one mentor is going to help us mold the teachings, not changing the context of it, but mold the teachings the way we understand it at the level where we are at. So the fourth pillar is deep, profound spiritual understanding. And this is what our entire platform is based on: healing, clarity, transformation, and deep spiritual evolution. And whatever stage you are at, we welcome all of it, right? There is no judgment. There are no layers. I don't see it as, okay, you healing and then you do, there's no hierarchy. Yeah. Because we all keep coming back to, oh my God, I learned something here, now I need healing around.
It's like, you move up one ladder, one step, but then you realize, oh, I came back 2 steps, and then you again have to climb. I think, and this is how we are all throughout our lives. Something or the other will keep coming.
You know how it is? It's a very beautiful spiral, but the spiral is up. You might feel like you've come back to the same stage, but from here, you've actually come here. So it's like a very beautiful spiral. It's not like do this and then come back down like that, but it's a very beautiful spiral that we kind of move forward, and we keep coming back to healing, we keep coming back to transformation, we keep going back to the spiritual text. And I found it beautiful.
In fact, this is something that I personally wanted to ask you, right? Because the kind of healing we deal with, right, it's very new age. Right? Mm-hmm. We are not talking about therapy or counseling here. That's not us. We're talking about new age healing. We're talking about something like ancestral healing and womb healing, right? Which kind of, for certain people, they attach it with a lot of woo-woo-ness, right? They look at it from that lens. I want to understand from you that, was there any point where you had this fear that, okay, this is because, like you said, you very rightly said, it's very subjective, it's very individualized. Did you ever fear that, a lot of people might not be able to get it? Or did you see some shifts happening around that you had so much faith that, no, it's high time we normalize talking about new age healing?
I think the way I choose to look at it, Natasha, that psychological healing, psychological therapies are also deeply needed in the society. And there is a space for that, right? But in my own personal experience, I realized, because I've done both, right? I've been to doctors for gaining help, and it has helped me immensely, right? But at the same time, I hold space for the other perspective of it as well, which is touching more deeper layers of my own psyche. Now, I personally feel when the student is ready, the teacher appears and the teaching appears. And the reality is, perhaps it's not for everyone. Perhaps this kind of understanding, this kind of help, perhaps you're not ready for it because we have our perceptions and our blockages around it, which is also one awakening away, one realization and one trigger away from opening up, right? But the people who are ready for it, people who believe in this whole idea of not coming from a state of blind faith, but coming from a space that I'm open to understand what it is all about, right? And that's why it's very vital that our mentors come from that space of having respect for both. Because the challenges that I see in the industry, Natasha, and society in general, we are judging both the aspects differently, right? We are judging the psychological and the doctor aspect of it as well. Imagine there is so much taboo around going to a psychiatrist today. So much taboo around taking medications. And equal taboo around going through a healer who's going to say, okay, we're going to work on your past generational traumas and we're going to work around it. Taboos are there for both of them. I personally feel, yes, the world is opening up a lot more, but the teaching finds you in the right time, in the right place. And we don't have to push it. We don't have to push the agenda, right? The fact that our community is coming forward and saying, hey, this is so needed, I think it's a testament on its own. And there's a space for both of the modalities to coexist. We have mentors onto our platform that are also clinical psychologists. At the same time, they use spiritual modalities to also work with patients. And I think that's beautiful. And in my own journey, honestly, I found help a lot with people like that. People who understood both elements of it and worked hand in hand towards healing of that place, right? So yeah, I mean, there is space for both of the things to take place.
You know, every time I look at that, how much I understand about the personal evolution, I feel that I get it. But every time I sit with you, you like drop in inside. I'm like, okay, this is like one more chapter uncovered for me. On the same lines, you know, you have said, you often called our new age healers as spiritual doctors, which I find so fascinating. You're like, you know, that there might not be any cuts, there might not be any bruises, there's no bloodshed happening, but then still these people heal. And I love your viewpoint in this, that they're still healing, they're still spiritual doctors. And it's high time that they got the recognition that they deserve, right? Where did that come from?
First of all, I have like deep respect for people who have actually gone into the fire. And they know how it feels like. And they come out of the fire fetching water buckets for the others. The society or people call it the wounded healer aspect of it, but I find it profound. The thing is, a lot of our traumas, our wounds are not visible. And if you collectively see, everyone around is carrying some level of wounding or the other. All of us. Some level of the wounding is always going to be there, right? But what happens in our society is, the moment we have a cut, there's blood coming out of it. We're like, oh, I need to go get the tetanus thing done. I gotta go get the stitches done. There is an urgency for us to, take shape. And once it's done, we thank the doctor and we, come back with respect. Or doctor ne to bahut acha kar diya, doctor gave me the medication. But we don't understand there are so much wounding that we're carrying which is not physical or not tangible. And there are people out there in the world that can see your intangible wounding. They can look at the aspect and say, hey, I can sense she's suffering with multi-generational trauma. She's coming from a certain state of saying, hey, where is my blockages around love coming from? Where are my blockages around money coming from? And if you look closely at your life, you're like, these are not my thoughts. But where is it arising from? But then there are people in the industry, in the society that can see that wounding. We can't see it yet, but they can see it for us. And once they start diving and working deeper with us, we start realizing, I have a eureka moment around it. So in my own journey of meeting with these fantastic people that I have the opportunity to meet every now and then, and I'm more struck, Natasha. I'm more struck by the beauty of these humans, the beauties of these mentors. And I'm not saying that they're not getting their due. I mean, everybody's getting their due, right? And it's not about giving an award to somebody or, saying, hey, great job done, here's a trophy. It's about truly respecting from that innermost self and saying, hey, I see you. I see the power in you. I see the beauty of your healing. And I truly thank you for that. And this is the state I get into every single time I come across the most powerful mentor, healer, therapist. And every ounce of my being truly want to give them that entire respect. And sometimes, I just don't say anything. Most of us, we end up not saying anything because the eye contact is enough to say, I see you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And what you've done for me, I'll never forget. It's not about that recognition. It's just about, that realization within our own self of seeing somebody beautiful, somebody so helpful that really shifted something in us. That in itself is also healing in many different layers for both the parties, not just for the person who's receiving it, but for also the person who is given that healing out. And yes, people need to be recognized more. They need to be loved more, right? Yeah, and of course there are other aspects to it, which is the financial aspects. Are we okay to pay these people? Like to an open heart surgeon, we end up paying lakhs. But how about to somebody who really helped us heal multi-generational trauma that was becoming our biggest blocker in this lifetime? Are we okay with that? So I think these are certain things that I'm also dabbling with. I talk to a lot of people around it, and I hope NeoYug can be a tiny speck in that microcosm of shift that happens in that whole landscape.
But what you speak about, this is the kind of narrative that we want to establish in the industry, right? That's the ideal picture that NeoYug is trying to and putting all our efforts into reach. But then there is other side of the story as well, Natasha, which I want you to expand on. That there are certain entrapments that, especially people who are really wounded, and it's like they're sick and tired of that rut and that situation, and they kind of keep going to healers or keep looking for answers. There's certain entrapments or maybe certain addictions they get into even in the healing space. Right? Which actually I first heard it from you only. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, what are these? Why am I talking about this? That I want you to kind of acknowledge them, so that anyone who's in that space should be more careful. What are these entrapments?
See, human brain loves boxes, and human brains love something that's familiar. The fact that a lot of us stay in a victim mentality because it's familiar. We just don't know how feeling good feels like. Because we've been feeling shitty since childhood, that's our reality. And a part of us hates it, but there is a part of us that says, this is so comfortable, I love feeling bad, I love feeling sad all the time. Because we've not felt what feeling good also feels like. And similarly in this space, one can clearly get into the trap. And I think we talked about it a lot internally while building this, right? Because we were also looking at our own ethos and ethics that we want to operate this from, right? And be very aware of where are we going right, where are we going wrong, because there is enough fear-mongering that's happening in the society, right? There is enough traps of repurchasing, of going to a tarot card reader, going to like an astrologer every other day for every other thing. Because what these platform wants is more repeat purchase. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's a good thing for any business, but there's a shadow that's lurking behind that. And the shadow says that it's very easy for people to fall into the familiarity traps of saying, hey, I need guidance for every damn thing in my life. I need healing for every damn thing in my life. I know of people who go from a retreat after retreat trying to find answers, and they have their healing stories also kind of scripted already. I've seen myself doing that at times as well, that I was like, dude, this is not right. And it's easy to fall into that trap of familiarity that I can't think beyond this apart from that person, because we are constantly looking for crutches, and sometimes these modalities becomes our crutches. That what color am I going to wear today? I got to get my tarot card out. How is this meeting going to go? I got to get my tarot card out, right? How this month is going to go? I'm going to read my chart. We fall into that trap of doing that. And it's a massive crutch. We got to give up. I think true healing is when we start truly giving up the crutches. And sometimes the healing become the entrapment of saying, hey, I just need healing all the damn time. I just need to feel, okay, I've done something and I need to work on the right next thing. Pausing is also vital. You've come so far. Enjoy that. Enjoy the change that has happened, that took place. Pause. Feel good, right? Don't say, oh, I need another form of healing. I need to change something in myself. I mean, it's very easy to fall into that trap, Natasha. And not coming from a judgment space, because I think that's an awareness that it's a very personal thing that would come to us. But that's what came through for me. That I don't need to keep meeting mentors after mentors after mentors to be able to find perspective. Because what's the whole point if I can't make my own understanding by now? Right? Knowing when it's needed, you do it then. But for every single thing, heavy reliance on people and modalities, it's a trap. Because the trap that you were trying to escape, now you're into another trap. So I think that's what we truly talked about internally, that this is what we don't want to do as a platform as well, right? We want people to come, know when they need the help, take the help, but don't make it like, oh, I need this all the damn time. You don't need it all the time, right? The mentor's job is to equip you enough so you can start taking calls for yourself in the future. That's what the job is. Because if they want, I've seen people in my life, Natasha, and that's a very deep wounding that I had to work with. I still work with it. Anybody who makes you reliant on them, and we've seen it in our families, puja after puja, it just cripples the family, it just cripples people. You can't make a decision beyond a person. And that's such a, that I can't explain that feeling. I just feel that feeling is, it just feels very disgusting in your body. That you have no power over making your own decision for yourself. And I see families being entrapped. So that's the shadow aspect of it, which we have to be very mindful of as we build this forward.
My mentor used to say the same thing, that you're not a good coach if your client wants you all the time. Yeah. You're not a good coach. A good coach is that I've taught you. You now know the reasons. You have your own motivating triggers. Work on it, right? And I think what you spoke literally kind of, it's parallel to that. So, yes, but we know when you were talking about all of this, what struck me was that we have such diverse alternative healing modalities, or I should say new age healing modalities. We have like a Vedic astrology, we have, like I mentioned, we have ancestral healing, we have womb healing and all of that, right? What kind of stories, or I mean, how did your faith come up in these modalities that you felt that, this is the need of the hour, and people need to kind of experience it to understand that where the trauma is coming from and how they can heal themselves? Because honestly, I'll give you my example. I have met a lot of mentors through this platform. I've done podcasts with them, right? Typically, when in this whole hustle culture, how we look at money is that, are hard work karte raho, don't give up and you'll attain it. But then when I've met mentors now, and now I understand that there's something called soul purpose, there is something called, the lessons that you didn't learn in your past lives, that you chose this life so that you understand or value that aspect of yours and work towards it. I look at it from a very different angle now. Right, and that's what it has been able to do it for me, and that's why now I don't attach myself too much to it. It's like I now still learn the lesson, but I don't get obsessed about it now, right? So I've seen that with those interaction with the mentors, with the kind of modalities that we have got. What stories you saw, what kind of breakthroughs you saw, that you felt that these are the modalities that we need to have on our platform, because this could really solve a lot for people?
While I've seen transformations through my own experiences of others, of being in such spaces for years, I think I'll like to highlight my recent one. Um, and that's something truly profound, and I'm so grateful that I was able to be in that space. So we met with one of our mentors, Meher Malik. She did a very beautiful retreat called Wild Womb. And the world in itself, the word is like wild, which is the wild nature of what feminine is, and the womb aspect, which is, which is also very feminine. And that word was like, oh, this is calling out to me. The thing about modalities, I think they call you out. There are, I don't know how many modalities out there. We can't be doing everything, and not everything is for everyone. The thing about modalities and mentors is you just, at your core, at your gut, you feel you need this in this point of life. And you just have to listen to that. And that's what I was called out to do. The thing is, while building businesses, women tend to become very masculine in nature. And I realized that I've so deep wounding. I thought I had deep wounding around my masculine, but I think my masculine is at it. It knows how to get shit done, right? But I really wanted to reconnect with my feminine self and to my womb aspect of it, which is to me like a modern woman. I was like, womb, I don't know, because there was this one point, and I'm being extremely open about what I felt. There was this one point in my life where I felt bleeding every month for women is a problem statement, because I felt that it's taking away from my, productive days. And at one point, I truly I was Googling, can I remove my uterus? Right? Because I felt my uterus is coming in my way of making it big. Because the story in my head is like, guys don't have to deal with this. Why do I have to deal with this? Of course, I lacked clear understanding of what it would do to my body scientifically, right? I was like, now that I know about it, I was like, oh, you can't do that. So there was a deep wounding around that feminine aspect, which is not just, oh, I'm this woman, I gotta experience what being a woman feels like, but the portal that we have, I wanted to deal with it. So was with Meher for good 10 days in Egypt. And the kind of space holding that Meher did for a lot of us women there was extremely profound, because we did work a lot around our womb trauma. And I remember there was this one exercise that she made us do, which was connect with our womb through breath work. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I don't want to. Like, there was a part of me that says, okay, I'm gonna do this, right? But there was a part of me that says I don't need to do it. But as we started doing that entire exercise, a lot was coming out for me, and it was very interesting to witness what I experienced in that space. A lot of the other women, of course, had deep womb wounding, which was also multi-generational. And it was similar for me. That my wounding around womb came from multi-generational stuff, because in that whole vulnerable state, I was able to witness and recall so many memories of my ancestors, of women that had to go through miscarriages, of women who had to go through child labor challenges, just conceiving challenges, right? And more challenges that when they were going through these processes in their body, they were alone, they had nobody to talk to. And in that whole space, I just truly felt, and I remember just crying and crying for hours in that space, because the thing about all of this work is so mystical in nature that, you're just tapping into different psyches, and the energy is very different around. And beautifully and thankfully, Meher holded that safe space for us to help us release that trauma, right? And I just remember crying and just feeling the pain that my ancestors, the women ancestors felt, that my mother felt, the way she felt when she was alone. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I've witnessed all of this. I've been seeing all these stories and I'm feeling all their fears. I need to release it. And of course, with deep, profound breath work, we were able to release it. But the beauty of the experience is, Natasha, when I came back home, there was this urge in me to talk to my mother about all of this for the first time ever. And I remember talking to her. And I remember that my mom justified and my mom confirmed everything that I told her. And she's like, how do you know about all of this that happened with me? It's like, this is what came to me, in that whole experience. And I felt your pain. I felt how lonely you felt. I felt the pain of losing a child. And I remember that conversation was so profound for me and my mom both, because for the first time she acknowledged that I was lonely. I didn't know what to do. I was young. I had nobody to talk to when I lost a child. When I had you, when I had your siblings, how lonely I felt throughout that experience. And that's where you realize that a lot of our suffering, a lot of our trauma is multi-generational, and it just needs safe space for it to just beautifully come out. And that conversation led to my mom was like, I don't know, Natasha, ऐसा लग रहा है कि कुछ हल्का हो रहा है. And I felt light, and my mom felt light, and I was like, I've done this work in a far off country, and by me doing that work, my mom is healing. And I don't know, like my multi-generation perhaps is healing through this. And this is why I feel that this work is so vital. And it's so needed in the society today. Because sometimes you don't have logical answers. I had no logical answers to why was I shown something that I never knew about. I was shown it in my third eye. I never knew about any of it till my mom confirmed it. And where is it coming from? That's the beauty of the space holder. That's the beauty of the intention that you put out. And that was a profound experience for me. I came back being completely in sync with my own womb and the power that I carry as a woman. And I have deep respect for it today. That's a different question, whether I'm going to choose to have, children of my own or not. That's a very different question. But do I have respect for what I've been given, the gift that I've been given of this body? I have a huge amount of respect for it, right? And that's where my feminine healing comes from, that space. That I can be this wild woman in this world, building businesses, creating connections, living this life to my fullest, and heal at the same time, and be fully connected to my masculine and feminine like an Ardhanarishwara, right in the center. And that's the profound stories I want. I remember coming back and saying to all you guys, it's like, you all got to experience that. I genuinely feel that every woman got to experience.
Every masculinized feminine. All of us.
All of us, we got to experience it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Natasha, because being so open, so vulnerable, so secure, and yet so honest about all of your experience, because I feel so many people needed to hear your story, and I know it came from such an authentic space and such a good space that I really feel that people understand that the why story, that why we are building this and what's the intention behind it. So more power to you, and so much of gratitude to you for opening up in front of us and sharing this story. But tell me one thing, NeoYug as one platform, right? How do you think we will be able to cater to every archetype of person, be it like a CEO, a CXO, an entrepreneur, or a homemaker? How does one platform have that capacity to cater to all?
When we remove the tags, in the end, we are just humans. These are just the tags we carry. Look, I'm the CEO of this company. I gotta behave this way. Look, I'm this homemaker that never got recognized. Look, I'm this girl who's trying to do something in the world. Look, I'm a doctor. Look, I'm a healer. These are all tags, no? When we remove these tags at the core, we realize I've been coming to that whole realization at the core, we are just children, no? We're just children who've just been forced to grow up. And we have to grow up. But we kill the child, the aha wonder in the world. We just lose it. And I think when you speak to a human on that level, everybody understands it. So it's not about going to, we're going to cater to entrepreneurs or this and that. Yes, every person will speak your language because the language resonance and understanding is deeply that I understand what an entrepreneur feels like. I know what loneliness of an entrepreneur feels like. So I can help the other person from that perspective, right? I can feel the pain of somebody who's been in a bad relationship. I can feel the pain truly as a mentor and say, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Or I can truly feel the pain of working or living in a dysfunctional family and saying, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Our mentors understand those spaces where one approaches it from. But at the core, it's truly about interacting with the human, right? It's about solving that aspect of their own being in that moment. And healing, Natasha, healing. I really want to get this straight. I think healing is not about changing or about being perfect or better. Healing is truly about becoming and accepting who you truly are at the core. Healing is about acceptance. Healing is not about change at all. It is about true acceptance part of it. And I think once we come from that angle, everybody realizes the true power of where they come from in this space. Then the tags just completely remove away from the space and say, hey, I'm just here as a human who's having challenges and I need help. That's it. So, yeah.
What is your vision with NeoYug? What exactly do you want to do with the one-on-one and NeoYug? What's the future plan?
I think, Natasha, for all of us at NeoYug, we're very clear why we'll have answers in place, and a lot of it's going to be discovery for us as well. But I think all of our intention is in the right place of truly leading and building NeoYug from a space of heart. And being channel, I have to constantly remind myself that I'm not the one doing this. I'm just the channel, the conduit of this energy to take place in the society. And it's coming from a very deep space of surrender, right? While I can say, I have this brain power to be able to build this into something, I think that's also true. But at the end, realize that we are just the channel for whatever wants to take shape in society today. That could happen through NeoYug. And of course, the whole idea is to truly build a safe space here. I don't know, where do we see ourselves in 10 years? I don't have an answer to that. But do I see a society that is completely being okay with seeking help? Saying, hey, I want to level up. I want to heal. I want to transform. I want to deeply dive deeper into the spiritual understanding of things. And can I find that at one place? We want to be that place, right? We want to be the right channel of that space where curated, hand-picked teachings, hand-picked mentors are there for everyone to discover.
On that note, is there any one last message or wisdom gem that you would like to share with the audience?
It's a line that stuck with me for a really long time. It says that when death finds you, may it find you alive. We're all gonna eventually die, right? But when it finds us, when the moment comes, may we be alive in the world. May we have lived the entire human experience. May we have felt every negative, every good emotion that to the core most feeling of it. May we have lived our life out of the victim mentality. May we have lived our life healed. Maybe we have lived our life truly becoming what our potential is. I feel all of us get to see that. All of us get to experience that. And when the time comes, may we be alive. So yeah, that's what I want to say. But thank you so much for doing this, Natasha, with us.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for opening up your heart, sharing all the deep-rooted beliefs and faith that you have in this vision and in this company, and sharing it with all of us. So thank you so much. And I'm literally having a ball of a time building this with you. And I really
It's good fun, no?
Yes,
It's
it
good
is.
fun. It's like, oh wow, like
You know my crazy plans, like in what all directions I go.
Natasha, by the way, Natasha is the most delusional and the most aggressive in the team, and I love that. I love that about you. I love that about you because that's coming from a place that's so secure and so confident in your own being, right? And you can truly see it's not coming from a place of, hey, I'm going to do this for myself. It's coming from a place of, it's possible. That's our act of service, and I am so grateful to you, Natasha, to be able to build this with you.
No, but I have to say, I think my inner child comes alive when I'm here. So, I'm like, yeah, this is possible and let's do this. Yeah. And I have to say that I think the credit goes to you and the whole team that we have. Like, whenever I come up with the idea and all of them are like, yeah, this is doable, let's do it. So it's just so empowering, and it's like, the whole team has got your back. And I think when there are people like that working together, that's what shifts. That's what brings the shift, not just in a particular industry, but I think that's what creates a shift in the world also. Yeah. So yes, like I said, I'm having a ball of a time building this with you, and I really, really hope to take this even at much bigger heights. And yeah, uh, I'm sure that we'll be coming back with a special conversation very soon.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think we have been the most honest here in sharing with you that why are we building this, why this is so important for us, and why we want to champion this cause. And if you are at any stage where you feel you're seeking acceptance or clarity or healing or transformation, we want to be your partners, and this comes from a very authentic space. We really want to be your allies. We want each and every person to be empowered to their core and live their best life, because trust me, living is just not about existing, it's about thriving, and we want each one of you to thrive. So help us to bring you home to yourselves. And for all the other details, please check out the description below. We have given our website where you can find mentors who get you, understand you, and help you heal. And yes, we'll see you at the other side. Thank you so much.